No, why would you have?
Because you were harmonizing. You were melodicizing. Which is not a word. I know that. You know that.
We all know that. Okay, ready?
Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt.
And my name is Paulo, and we just spent the week with Lexus's LS500.
That's right. This is Japan's ritziest sedan. And now with the F-Sport treatment, it's also the one with the most attitude. And I'm going to walk you around everything that you need to know.
Yes, and then we're going to get behind the wheel and talk about some of the standouts for the week and how it stacks up to some of the competitors. Let's get into it.
Let's do that. You guys know the drill. Before we cover the meat and potatoes, we're going to zoom in on the funky little odds and ends. And this first thing is only for the most eagle-eyed of us. And you see this F-Sport gets a unique grille or mesh pattern. It's almost like an L here. Now keep that pattern in mind because we're going to go into the cabin and look at the perforations on the seat. And you can see the negative space, the non-perforated space, has that same pattern to it. This is the level of detail that I expect from Lexus, and they delivered, and that's why they do so well with their interiors. This is very cool. And most cars would have a little dial or button down here for your drive modes, but I love that Lexus puts them up here over the cluster hood, and you can kind of turn them like you're in a fighter jet. There's just something a little bit more satisfying as you go through the drive modes to use this. Also on the other side, you've got a snow mode to help in traction situations, and you can turn traction completely off. So just be careful what you're doing over here when it's in some more inclement weather conditions. But this, way more satisfying than a little dial on the center console. And then under the hood, we're not going to talk about engine specs just yet, but we are going to talk about this forged carbon plastic applique for the engine cover that we have here. This is the F-Sport, so I guess this is the F-Sportiest looking engine cover with the forged carbon. I gotta say, it does look pretty cool though. And I think the hallmark of any good luxury car is how satisfying it is to interact with some of the switchgear. Now for your temperature, you have this dial. It's got little indentations or little divots for each temperature or each digit, or each degree, I guess I should say. Very, very satisfying, rubberized with the kind of middle insert. But it doesn't stop there. You've got your power and your stereo controls, and underneath you have a separate dial. This is for your tuner to change radio station. I don't know how often people are doing this with Apple CarPlay and things like that, but to have this two-tiered volume system in each one, this one has indentations. Hopefully you can hear it. And then this one is just more free sliding. But this is just very, very satisfying and really cool. And just up from that, what would a luxury flagship be without an analog clock? And if you look closer, you can see almost like a carbon fiber weave that again matches the perforation pattern on the seats and from the front grille. And down here you have this button with a seat on it, and that brings up the menu for seat adjustments. Now you have typical seat adjustments down here, so things like recline and slide and all that sort of thing, but if you go into this menu, you can control a lot more things. Now there's no massage seat, but we'll get to that, but there's a lot of customizability in the seat adjustments themselves with this little button. All right, with all those little things covered, let's zoom back out and talk about what this is and what it competes against. Now this is the Lexus LS500. This is their flagship, their largest and most luxurious sedan. And it competes then against, I guess its closest competitor would be something like a Genesis G90, but also more conventional and legacy automakers like the Germans with the S-Class and the 7 Series from BMW and Audi's A8. And we'll talk a lot more about these and how they compete as the video goes on. But what's new for 2025? And the answer isn't a whole lot. The entire lineup is about $1,000 more than it was last year. That's across the board. And we do have a fully digital instrument cluster. I wasn't in the 2024, but I think it still had the moving tack like we've seen in some of the LCs and the RCFs that we've tested in the past. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. But back under the hood to talk engine specs. Now what we have here is a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6. It makes 416 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 is good for about the mid 5 seconds. So it's not slow, it's actually pretty smooth, and we'll talk about driving experience in a little bit. Now the EPA says you're going to get about 21 mpg out of this thing, but we did our Lakeshore loop, and as typical, we outperformed the EPA with about a 23.4 miles per gallon across our 30-mile test. That's not too bad. I think the thing that most people will be missing is that there's no V8 option, whereas you can get it in an S8, you can get it in an S-Class, and you can get it in the 7 Series. But regardless, all that power is going to go through a 10-speed automatic transmission, which we'll talk about more in a second, and it's going to make its way to all 4 wheels. LS500 and Sport S Plus. Twin turbo V6 wailing away. It is certainly not slow. I mean, it's not as fast as like an S8 or something like that, but it's not like, it's not unmotivated to get out of its own way. A thing that I like about the Powertrain actually is the smoothness. Now, obviously, I haven't driven this thing a lot in Sport S Plus because that's not really the point of this car. You're going to drive in mostly is comfort, or custom, or eco mode, or normal mode, or something like that, something a little bit more tame. And then this Powertrain is very smooth. For having twin turbos and a V6, it is almost as smooth as like an NA V8. The thing that kind of takes away from the smoothness at times is the 10-speed transmission. Most of the time, when you're not driving it hard, which again is most of the time, it's fine. It's almost invisible to the point that I don't even really realize it has a transmission. But sometimes coming out of a corner when I'm trying to hustle or be a little bit more spirited or exuberant, it does have to take a second to think about what gear it wants to be in coming out of that corner. Now you do have paddles. It's not the sharpest thing. It's not like the LC500, at least the tuning is not exactly like that, but it wouldn't be. But overall, the driving experience from a Powertrain is very smooth. The handling, also surprisingly good. When you do get traction off and you do get out of a corner and you've got manual control of the gearbox, it'll rotate a little bit. You can tell at its core this thing doesn't want to be driven that hard. It's an F Sport, not an F, not a full F. So it's not really intended to do that. It's more of an appearance package with a little bit of suspension tweaks to give it a little bit more performance. But it doesn't disappoint me when you do get this thing on the boil. It's pretty good. But like I said, most of the time you're going to just drive this casually. So let's talk about the ride. Now, we don't have an adaptive air suspension where pretty much all the Germans come with that option or can be had with that option. And what it results in is the ride being still very good objectively. It's a very luxury car, but it isn't to that like flagship S-Class 7 Series A8 kind of tier. It's more like the tier down. So like a nicely equipped 5 Series kind of rides like this. It's still very good, but it's just not to that final top tier. You go over to some like small, I mean, not small, but more medium kind of road imperfections, some expansion joints and things like that, and you do seem to get a bit of a jutter that comes through the cabin. It seems to start in the rear and then just kind of like take a second to settle the car. The German kind of philosophy of suspension is just one thump and done. And especially with the air suspension, that thump is really minimized. This seems to have some kind of like secondary or residual kind of thumping going on through the cabin. But overall, it's a small thing that it's my job to look for things like that. So the layperson may not notice that as much. But outside of that, the cabin experience, the refinement, it's very good. It's quiet, it's a very luxury car. It's just not quite to that same level as some of the Germans. And then we'll zoom back out and talk about styling. Now, I will say the F Sport treatment on this LS looks very, very cool. You have a unique grille with some more cooling, and the grille is surrounded by a Vader chrome. It also has some Vader chrome along the bottom front splitter and down the side skirts. But you do have classic chrome for your windows and your door handles, which is interesting. You do have sharp LED check running lights, as we're used to seeing from Lexus, and along the profile you can see you have such a long hood hiding that twin turbo V6. You've got 20-inch wheels finished in a gunmetal gloss finish, which looks very good with the Vader chrome that meets it around the side of the body. But the F Sport badge is on your front fender to make sure that you know that you've got something a little bit more aggressive than the conventional LS. You've got a pretty classic sedan profile when you zoom out, and around the back you have some L array taillights that look pretty cool. You've got a dual exhaust, and it's a clean look, so leave it down in the comments what you think. And also, I want to take a minute to shout out Lexus for their silvers. Lexus does some of the best silvers in the game. You would think it'd be Mercedes, but this looks very good, especially when the sun is going down. But then we'll talk trunk. The release is over here, offset to the right-hand side. It is a powered trunk, and it opens in a kind of slow and dramatic fashion. You don't have a separate button for close and lock, but you do have a button for close. And then the space itself, you're looking at about 17 cubic feet of space. You've got nice winglets behind the rear tires for some additional storage. You've got a strap, but there's not a lot else going on back here. You do have some tie downs and things like that if you want to run the netting across, but the rear seats, they don't fold, so this is what you get. This is the space. It's not huge, but it's not small by any means, and I think it makes sense for what this car is. Then we'll check out the rear seats, but first, I want to show you that this has soft closed doors. It does not have automatic doors like the 7 Series that we've tested in the past, so there's no button to automatically close the door like a Rolls-Royce or open the door like we had in the BMW or the Cadillac. There's also no window shades, which is a tiny bit odd, but when you come and look at this door card, this is what I love about Lexus. I've never seen a more exquisite, a more ornate door card. Mark Levinson reference speaker grille, looks very unique. And then we've got almost this like fish scale metallic thing with an LC style kind of floating door handle. Very, very cool. Alcantara micro suede with contrast stitching. We've got the domino interior with our white and contrast stitching. Very, very cool. Again, I'm 6'1" for reference, and I've got plenty of knee room in front of me, which is pretty good. The problem is when we get to headroom, there is a little bit of a cutout, as you can see, behind the second sunroof, but I still am gonna hit my head a little bit. So headroom leaves a little bit to be desired. You do have a separate sunroof back here for your rear passengers, and you do have vanity mirrors, which is fairly nice. But then when we come down to the center console, now our tester is missing the executive rear seat package, so we don't even have an extra climate zone back here for the rear seats. We don't have heated rear seats back here. We don't have cooled rear seats back here. We do have vents, and we do have a map pocket back here, and we've got some more venting over here. So it's not like it's uncomfortable, it's just lacking a little bit of headroom. But we also don't have massage seats down here. What we do have is this big center armrest, big storage bin down here, USB-Cs it looks like. We've got a button to control the rear shade, and I can control the front seat from this button back here. The car has to be on, which is why it's not doing it right now. So there's a couple things missing as standard. I would expect a third zone of climate as standard. I would expect maybe heated seats as standard in the back, but you do have to go to the executive package for that, and I believe that also gets you a lounge seat. But the seats themselves, the leather, it's very comfortable as long as you just have a little less torso. But then we'll move up the cabin to the front seats, and we'll show you the seat controls real quick. We obviously have 3-level memory seats, and if I press this button with the R on it, I can use these controls to adjust the passenger seat, which is fairly cool. Now our seats for the F Sport do get F Sport embossments into the headrest. It's kind of two-tone leather, and then obviously the Alcantara or micro suede. We've talked about the perforations, very, very nice. There's no massage here on the front seats, just like you don't have in the rear seats. But we do have 3-level heated and 3-level cooled seats and a 2-level heated steering wheel, and we have the climate concierge stuff on your center console here, so you can let the car figure it out given the ambient temperature of the outside. So it's a fairly comfortable seat. Just would like to see a massage on a flagship luxury sedan like the LS. But let's talk about the overarching cabin experience, because this is a place that Lexus shines. It just feels so much more unique and ornate, and it starts with the incredible door card. It's got like multiple tiers and textures and patterns and materials. It is just spectacular. I love the detailing in here. The materials, the leather quality is outstanding. Some of the nicest leathers in the automotive industry, including some of the Rolls-Royces and the Maybachs that we've tested in the past. It's just very, very nice leather quality, very supple and very soft. But it's not all perfect. Some of the design is feeling a little bit long in the tooth. This car is maybe begging for a bit of a refresh, but that also means that some of the physical tactility that you have here is kind of the old school or golden era. You have physical buttons for things like your heated and cooled seats. You've got physical buttons for your climate controls. And it works really well in tandem with the more modern screens. So that is pretty nice. One of the things that's a little bit less nice, and I guess really my only complaint from a cabin experience, is when we have this cup holder piece closed in your floating center console, it is a lot of piano black, so that is going to show smudgy fingerprints, especially in the summer if you've got sunscreen on your hands and things like that. But overall, the attention to detail, the ornateness, especially in the door cards, it just feels more unique and special. But then we'll zoom in and talk about something a little bit more modern, and that's technology. Now you do have a full color head-up display. It's very robust, it's very nice. And now we do have a full digital instrument cluster. There's a couple different views that you can kind of customize. This is the one that I've been using, but there's also one that shows you boost pressure and your map. And then this one I think is funny. When you go into drive, it'll show you what gear you're in, and the gear that they show you is enormous. And it goes all the way up to 10, so that is really just kind of a dominating feature. Now it also changes depending on what mode you're in. Sport S Plus is going to give you that graduating bar across the top, so you can kind of keep track of when you need to shift if you want to take control of the car yourself. But this is a tech talk, so let's talk about some of the driver assist stuff. The Lexus Safety Sense suite here is pretty decent, although I do have one complaint. It keeps me in my lane, that's all well and good. It doesn't change lanes for me where some of the more modern systems from Germany do, but it also is not a touch capacitive wheel. You have to actually shake the wheel, so there have been times when I've had the lane keep assist on, and I have my hand on the wheel, and yet it still asks me to put my hand on the wheel. What it's wanting me to do is just shake the wheel a little bit. So I would like to see a capacitive touch steering wheel in the future for the LS. But then you come over to your main event. This is your center infotainment screen, and it's the latest and greatest from Lexus. It's a huge screen, the resolution's good, the The colors are great. You got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, dual Bluetooth connection, and you do get a little bit of over-the-air update stuff. You're not going to get a digital rear view mirror, and one of the things I'm more upset with is you don't get a 360 camera. This is a flagship luxury sedan, and to not have a 360 camera, my opinion, I'm sorry Lexus, but this is a little bit unexcusable. I would expect that from something like this. Ultimately, the tech certainly isn't bad. It's just missing that one feature, and I would like to see a little bit more robust safety system from Lexus in the future, maybe when this gets updated. And the last thing that we'll talk about before we get with Paulo and go for a drive is the price. Now, an LS 500 starts at $82,000, but our F Sport with all-wheel drive is the most expensive non-hybrid that you can get, starting at $88,375. But get this, you can get a hybrid LS, and it's gonna start at $117,000. So like $30,000 more than where we're starting with an F Sport all-wheel drive. And that doesn't seem to make a lot of financial sense. So if you don't like hybrids, that's all good. You don't need to feel pressured into getting one. But with all that stuff covered, let's get with Paulo and talk about some of the pros and cons that we experienced this week. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video.
Do you like that pumped-in engine noise?
It's certainly pumped. I mean, I have thoughts.
Okay,
they're mixed.
They're mixed. Let's circle back.
Okay,
let me
noodle on it for a second.
We'll circle back to that point.
Thank you for giving me some time with this. It's really complex what's going on in here. While I'm thinking on it, why don't you tell me what you liked, didn't like this week?
Yeah, I guess, I'll start with the exterior. I've always liked the look of this thing, and I really like the F Sport.
This silver is fantastic too, sorry.
I think that it's a good looker of a vehicle.
Agree.
It kind of
especially when you compare it to the 7 Series. Ooh, sorry.
Yep. It kind of blends in with, like, it looks like your standard car, but if you look a little bit harder at it and you know what it is, like, it looks good. Yeah. I think it's a good looking car. But one of my favorite things is the interior materials that they have in here.
True.
And the color combination that we have with this Oreo white on black. I think it looks really great. There's like absolutely no rattles in here, no creaks. Like, it just feels like the build quality is impeccable. I think it punches above its weight here.
This is your new favorite phrase.
It is.
Punches above its weight.
I do like that.
No, this is Lexus at their finest. This is Lexus doing Lexus stuff. Yes. Really unique character into the door cards here with like the fish scale metallic and then the suede with the contrast stitch. And then yes, the Oreo interior. Everything is fantastic. The leather quality is super supple. Not a squeak or rattle to be heard.
Yeah.
Classic Lexus.
Seats are extremely comfortable.
You know what would make them more comfortable?
Massage seats.
Massage.
Yeah. Agreed. The software is updated, so you have like Toyota's new software that is obviously Lexus reskinned. Although honestly, there's not much difference than my UI and software that I have.
The only difference is this little car here. That's like a Lexus.
Right.
It looks like a Lexus RZ.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
That's basically it. But yeah, I like the fact that it doesn't have like the trackpad down here anymore.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yep.
So yeah, I got no problem with it. I do have a problem with it, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. So let's see if there's anything else that I missed in terms of like the driver assist features are pretty good, like the lane keep assist, the kind of hands-free, it's not really hands-free, but like the driver assist features that you get, like it's all pretty good.
Yes.
Okay, you have
I'm still working on because I'm going to hit it at the end with a big flourish.
Okay, good. All right, so can I jump into my dislikes?
You can, please do.
So this one was kind of interesting. I didn't think that this rides the best from a suspension point of view. I think that, I don't know exactly what is going on, but it's a bit like there's some jolts that you feel within the frame. It seems like they originate from the back and they kind of work its way through the frame and up to the front.
Yeah.
Even in comfort mode, it's better in comfort mode, but you still feel it to some degree.
Yeah, I think universally across the board, it does have adaptive suspension. That's cool. That's fine. That's great. But just across the board in every mode, it's just not quite as supple, not quite as refined, not quite as isolated as you would get from the Germans. BMW is going to be coming with an air suspension. Mercedes is going to be coming with an air suspension. Audi's going to be coming with an air suspension. This just misses some of that. And yeah, you do, when you go over to like medium-sized road imperfections, you do get a little secondary and then like maybe even like a tertiary or third motion coming through the cabin. Just a little tiny bit of something.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit So yeah, the ride to me feels more like a very nice 5 Series than a 7 Series.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Cool.
Yeah.
Glad it does. Working on being articulate on camera.
No, that was good. And then some of the other like just small things. I like that you have the physical climate control buttons, but I don't really love this dial to control the temperature. It's okay, but just not my preferred method.
I kind of like it.
Okay,
It's a little old school, but I like it.
Matt kind of likes it. I personally don't. Some other things, no 360 cameras at standard. Like,
What are we doing?
this thing is, what, it's like 80?
Don't put me on the spot like this, but yeah, I think the F Sport starts with all-wheel drive at like 88K-ish.
Yeah, so, I mean, for that, you don't get 360s.
There's a lot of things that I'm surprised that we're not getting as standard in a flagship, luxury, full-size limousine.
Yeah, and then the other one was what we kind of started the video on, is the pumped-in engine noises when you're in Sport Plus mode. I don't think it sounds good. Honestly, I think they could have just excluded it. I don't think you need it in this, personally.
But it's F Sport.
Right.
I could see not putting it in like the normal, the non-F Sport.
Right.
But give me something. Rev me up a bit
Yeah.
with the F Sport. I want to be entertained and thrilled.
Right. Just not with that.
No, I'm fair.
Yeah. And the last thing is the hybrid is insanely expensive.
Outrageous upcharge. It's like
Yes.
plus 30 grand for the hybrid.
Do you think they sell more
What?
hybrid LS
No.
500s or more LC 500s?
Oh,
They sold like 8 last
we're
year or
splitting
something.
hairs. I will never say anything bad about the LC on record, ever, because it's the world's best car.
Even the hybrid though?
I have no comment.
Okay.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. Those are all my things.
Are we ready for my big flourish?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Here's my thing. I've tried to distill this as concisely as possible.
Right.
So I'm hoping
We
not
love
to screw
that.
it up. This is objectively a very nice car. It is not competitive in the class that it competes against. All the Germans, 7 Series, S-Class, A8, S8, etc. Even, I shouldn't speak on the G90 because we haven't had a go in the G90. But this is just like, the ride just isn't quite as nice. The cabin refinements and isolation just isn't quite as nice. The tech is lacking. Some of the features, you can get some of the stuff, but it just doesn't quite feel that same level of luxury.
Yeah.
Earlier in the video, I said it feels like a very nice 5 Series until we were talking about the ride. But it just doesn't quite feel that last tenth. Now, to be fair, this is also cheaper than the Germans.
Yep.
So, just know what you're getting into. And know how to spec it if you want, like, the luxury lounge seat
it's like an
and the
extra
rear
15K.
heated seat and all that sort of thing. The executive, I think if this had the executive rear seat package with all the goodies there, I'd feel differently. Feel a lot differently. But yeah, again, I don't want it to sound like this isn't nice. This is still objectively a nice car. The materials, the build, the fit and finish, the quality here is there.
Yeah.
It's just not quite S-Class. Well, that's what we got. That's the LS 500. So thank you to Lexus for letting us have a go. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.